All right, family, welcome back to my desk. Hide your kids, hide your wife, hide everybody because China has now made pregnancy robots. Let's watch this news article and then we're going to come back and talk about it, okay?
Developing pregnancy robots. Yes, you heard me right. Complete with artificial wombs to help couples struggling with infertility. This is not science fiction. Billy, this is absolutely wild. Let me read you something from the doctor who's spearheading this technology, Dr. Zhang Quifeng. He said, quote, the artificial womb technology is already in a mature stage and now it needs to be implanted in the robot's abdomen so that a real person and the robot can interact to achieve pregnancy, allowing the fetus to grow inside. Billy, what's your reaction?
I mean, this is horrifying on a number of levels. I think, look, there are people who are going to say this is going to help people who can't have children. And I understand and I sympathize with that piece of the puzzle. You're trying to have children, you can't do it. You're looking for a way to have that happen. I think there are so many ethical issues that emerge with this, though. God designed the body in a very particular way, not just the body, but he designed relations between a man and a woman in a particular way. And a baby growing inside, I mean, you have children, I have children, growing inside the womb of a human mother, there's a connection point there that you want to see happen that is not happening in this case. What you have is a machine purportedly, and we have not seen this yet to know that this is actually something that could work, right? They're saying it could work. They're saying it could happen. I think we know that science is moving at such a fast speed that it won't be shocking to see this happen. But the point is there are severe and massive ethical issues with this. Also keeping in mind the fact that in testing this, you have to assume, outside of all the other issues, that there are going to be losses of human life because I doubt it's going to work on the first try. So it's a little bit horrifying, honestly.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any weirder, past few years it's been kosher to call someone a birthing person, which my wife finds horribly offensive. She's like, I'm a mother, and you guys are taking that away from me. I'm like, okay, babe, let me throw you another one. Pregnancy robots. I wonder how she's going to take that one. But apparently the price is 100,000 yen, which is about $14,000. Which, to your point, if surrogates cost between 100K and 200K, this is a much cheaper option. Now we've talked about gender confusion, all that stuff. But now we're talking about non-human relations, humanoid ethics. It's a whole new can of worms. I was thinking like, God, what's a Bible verse that I could, use to to add to this conversation? I'm like, I don't know. Like I have to start from square one. Like, okay, robots creating or at least facilitating human life. I don't know where that is in scripture. So Billy, maybe in closing, like how do we even start this conversation from a biblical ethics standpoint?
Yeah, I think we have to start it with prayer and understanding. A lot of times when something isn't going the way we want it to in life, we try to take matters into our own hands. And I think this is an example of this. I'm not saying this wouldn't help some people. I'm not saying there wouldn't be elements that people could argue are good. I think you have to pray through, though, and ask God, are the negatives outweighing the positives? And one thing we do have to mention here, this is not just a womb. As far as we can understand, it's a humanoid, as you said. It's supposed to look like a human, act like a human, and do what humans can do, which is to not only facilitate the growth of life, but then actually have the baby. So there's so much here I think we need to be praying about. That's where we start. We go to God in prayer and we say, God, is this of you? Is this not of you? And some people may say, well, I already know the answer to that. But I think with all these matters, we should turn to him. And look, this is bizarre. There is more bizarreness to come. I think this is just starting to scratch the surface of how weird things are going to go.
Welcome back to my desk, everyone. Today we're diving into a story that has caught global attention, and rightly so. China has reportedly developed what the media is calling pregnancy robots, machines designed to help women conceive and even carry pregnancies in certain ways. Now, before we jump into the spiritual and ethical reflections, let's break down this and what it actually means, why it's sparking so much controversy. From the reports, as you've seen, these devices are essentially high tech machines that aim to assist women who are struggling with fertility. They could theoretically monitor ovulation, administer medications, or even simulate aspects of pregnancy. In essence, they are stepping into spaces traditionally reserved for the human body and the natural process of conception. On one hand, this is fascinating technology. It represents human ingenuity, the desire to solve complex problems, and potentially a lifeline for those struggling with infertility. But on the other hand, well, this is where things get complicated. Let's start with the positives. For many couples, infertility is a source of heartbreak and emotional pain. Technology like this could offer hope. It could provide safer, more monitored pregnancies for women with serious health risk. And it could potentially reduce the number of complications that naturally occur during conception. But now Proverbs 3 and 5 reminds us, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Now we're seeing humanity leaning on understanding and technology. But if used wisely, could this be seen as part of God's gift of wisdom and ingenuity? That's the question that we really have to wrestle with. But here's where the conversation gets challenging. Pregnancy isn't just biology, it's deeply spiritual. Life begins in the womb, as Psalms 139:13-14 tells us, for you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Replacing or even partially automating this sacred process raises serious ethical questions. What does it mean for the value of life? How do we protect the dignity of both mother and child? Could we be opening the door to commodifying human life in ways the Bible warned against? Additionally, there are medical risks we can't ignore. Technology, no matter how advanced, can malfunction. Misuse can lead to unintended harm. And spiritually, when humans try to control life's most sacred moments, we must pause and ask, are we honoring God's design or overstepping it? Beyond individual families, there are societal implications as well. Could this technology deepen inequalities if only accessible to the wealthy? Could it change how we view parenthood, family, and community? And importantly, how will this affect the spiritual fabric of our society, our understanding of human life as sacred and God-given? Romans 12:2 reminds us to not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of our minds. As believers, we are called to engage with innovation thoughtfully, transforming it with wisdom and ethical discernment rather than blindly just accepting it. Here's my perspective. Technology itself isn't inherently evil. It's a tool, but the intentions behind its use, the respect for human life, and the spiritual consequences are where we need to take caution. God gave humanity creativity, and with creativity comes responsibility. As we marvel at what's possible, let's also remember that the womb is sacred, life is precious, and God's design is intentional. We've got to ask ourselves, are we using innovation to serve life, or are we trying to control it in ways that might ultimately devalue it? These are some really heavy questions, but they're also some necessary ones. So, what do you think? Are pregnancy robots a sign of hope, a potential blessing, or a step too far? I want you to leave a comment and share your thoughts below inside of the description. If you found this episode and conversation thought-provoking, do me a favor, just hit the like button. You don't even have to subscribe to my channel. Just hit the like button because it helps me reach more listeners who need to wrestle with some of these important questions. Thank you for sitting with me at my desk. I'm Dr. Dandridge. Until next time, may your mind be discerning, your heart compassionate, in your spirit rooted in wisdom.